Here we are just 13 days away from the midterm elections, and last night we had major debates from three critical races that will likely play a very big role in November and moving forward. In Michigan, Republican gubernatorial candidate Tudor Dixon absolutely annihilated incumbent Gretchen Whitmer on COVID lockdowns, school closures, and so much more. Now, the governor tried to lie her way through it. She claimed schools were only shut down 3 months. Not exactly the truth. We will tell you the truth as the night unfolds. And meanwhile, in New York, a powerful performance by Republican gubernatorial candidate Lee Zeldin. He confronted the current governor, Kathy Hochul, on the state's violent crime wave, leaving Hochul to wonder, mysteriously, why do you care so much about this issue of crime? Governor, here's a hint. People are dying. Now, both Tudor Dixon and Lee Zeldin will join us straight ahead. Also, Georgia Senate candidate Herschel Walker will be here. But we begin tonight in the great state of Pennsylvania, the Commonwealth, where Dr. Oz, he will join us in a moment with reaction to one of the most, well, I guess you could say, unusual debates in American history. Now, tonight, it's official. The cover-up is over. Democrats, the media mob, the Fetterman campaign, they were all lying to all of us. John Fetterman is not mentally, physically, cognitively fit to serve. He should not be running for the Senate. And in a word, what we saw last night was painful, hard to watch. I'll give my full analysis in a moment, but here's how Fetterman started the entire debate. Take a look at this.
You're running for a seat that could decide the balance of power in Washington. What qualifies you to be a U.S. Senator? You have 60 seconds.
Hi. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody. That was the beginning of the debate. Unfortunately, it went downhill from there. Take a look.
He has specifically said you have not paid your taxes and that you want to raise taxes on Americans. How do you respond?
Absolutely. The Oz rule, of course, he's lying. It was helping two students 17 years ago to help them buy their own homes. They didn't pay the bills, and it got her paid, and it has never been an issue in any of the campaign before. It was all about nonprofit.
Has the Biden administration overspent? And if so, where do you think spending should be cut? You have 60 seconds.
No, here's what I think we have to fight about inflation here right now. That's what we need to fight about inflation, right now, because it's a tax. That's like, he got his Pennsylvania house from his own inlays from a dollar. We all have to make sure that everyone that works is able to, that's the most American bargain, that if you work full time, you should be able to live in dignity as well. True. The real doctors that I believe in, they all believe that I'm ready to be served. It's about supporting and helping, young earners, young students.
It gets worse. When confronted about his blatant flip-flop on the issue of fracking, he's called for a moratorium on fracking. Well, Fetterman's answer was, well, I'm for fracking, I'm against fracking, I'm for it. Take a look.
I do want to clarify something. You're saying tonight that you support fracking, that you've always supported fracking, but there is that 2018 interview that you said, quote, I don't support fracking at all. So how do you square the two?
I do support fracking, and I support fracking, and I stand and I do support fracking.
I support fracking, and I don't, and I do. I mean, it's sad, honestly. Obviously, that is not true. John Fetterman is a radical Green New Deal socialist Democrat. He's never supported fracking. This late election year conversion until now, he even signed a pledge pictured right there to ban all fracking and ban federal oil and gas leases. Now, of course, there are a lot of dishonest Democratic candidates who have election year conversions. Sadly, Fetterman's problems are far, far worse. Now, following a debilitating stroke, he is obviously mentally impaired. Serious damage has been caused here. Just listen to the neurologist that was on News Nation after the debate. Listen to this.
From watching the debate, I do think that he has a type of aphasia, specifically a Broca's aphasia, which essentially means that there's been some type of insult or damage to the part of the brain where language is produced, but also language is understood.
Do you get better?
So it depends. You know, someone mentioned therapy, and therapy can be very, very helpful, especially if you are doing it every day and you're taking a lot of time in your therapy. Essentially, what we know is that in the first 3 to 6 months is where you see the most improvement. There can be some improvement over the next year, but I think he's about 6 months out now. This happened in May. So I think if he was doing therapy right after his stroke, this is probably where has improved to the most.
Here's an important question. 6 months ago, was John Fetterman even able to fully consent to this campaign? Naturally, the Fetterman campaign, they're now blaming the debate host, Nexstar, for not doing enough to help mitigate Fetterman's mental disability. Now, Nexstar rightly, flatly rejected this accusation in writing that they went to extraordinary lengths to accommodate every one of Fetterman's demands, including the use of a closed caption teleprompter and 2 prior rehearsals. Now, this is where it gets even more interesting. Many Democrats around the country, they're mad. They're complaining that Fetterman even dared to show up to the debate at all. They should have kept it hidden. According to a report in The Hill, one Pennsylvania Democratic operative stated, quote, Fetterman's team never should have agreed to this debate. A second Democratic operative concurred. You see what's happening here? If we only hid him in the basement like we did Joe Biden in 2020, we at least would still have a fighting chance. Our odds would be better. They don't care that Fetterman has disqualifying physical limitations here. They don't care that he will be unable to fulfill the most basic duties of a U.S. senator. They don't care at all about the amount of dangerous stress that they're actually putting him under, putting him in a situation like last night. Instead, they're upset. They're furious that the voters found out. You should have kept it hidden. You should not have told the voters. You shouldn't have allowed voters to see this. Now, they're angry that the truth was revealed. In fact, for many months, many on the left and their complicit colleagues in the media mob, they worked hard to conceal Fetterman's real condition. And before last night, most, quote, journalists praised Fetterman's speedy recovery, and few demanded to see his medical records. Now, few played his disjointed remarks on the campaign trail. They hid it from all of us. No one in the Democratic Party said a word about his debilitating mental impairments. They all knew about it. But 2 weeks ago, when one brave NBC reporter dared to report the truth, they attacked her viciously. And Fetterman's wife called for the reporter to be punished, and her own NBC colleagues like Savannah Guthrie were attacking her. That reporter is owed an apology, but she likely will never get one. Fetterman's wife knew better, that her husband was unfit. So did the rest of Fetterman's family, and so did the media mob, and so did Joe Biden, and so did Amy Klobuchar. So did everyone who attempted to interact or campaign with John Fetterman. They all knew. And they were all part of a big lie to keep this from the people of Pennsylvania. Now that the truth has been revealed, some Democrats and others in the media, they're finally stating the obvious, which we have known for a long time, which we are one of the few shows to have pointed out. Take a look.
Voters, I think, saw things that will definitely change the state of this race. It's not his fault, but Lieutenant Governor Fetterman struggled.
He's struggling with the effects of a stroke that he suffered in May. And, you know, I said, it's very obvious that he is impaired. His ability to communicate is impaired.
He had difficulty with every single one of his responses. I don't know if it was only in communicating. It may also have been in his thought process because he seemed confused.
I watched the debate last night. It was hard to watch, frankly.
All right, let us be clear. I don't wish any ill will on John Fetterman. I want him to make a full recovery. I also, frankly, really feel bad for him. He's been used by everybody in his own party and all the people around him. In order to pick up a Senate seat, the Democratic Party is taking advantage of a person that is obviously severely sick and seriously disabled, a low-functioning individual. He should be in recovery. He should be in rehab. And all the while, they were not telling the people of Pennsylvania the truth about his condition. So tonight, Pennsylvania voters, they still don't know the extent of Fetterman's health problems because his campaign is still refusing to release his real medical records. But if last night is any indication, it is past time for Fetterman, frankly, to drop out of the race for his own well-being. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.